Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is indeed. This whole week was full of Laker blue. Just look at that weather. It was fantastic out there. Let me get started with a couple of recognitions and then get into some comments, both that I will take a look at some notes to make sure that I catch some of the essence of what I want to share with you this morning. And then we'll have time, hopefully, to have a couple of questions and answers, and then we'll head on over to convocation and share a message with our students as well, the incoming and returning students as well, and the faculty and staff that join us right there. First off, I'm very pleased that there are significant elements of the leadership of governance here. We have our board chair, Shelley Padness. Thank you for being here. The Vice Chair of Faculty Senate, Corey DiCarlo, is here. Corey, thank you for being here. The President of our Student Senate, and that's Jack Ayat. Jack? And the President of our Alumni Association, Julie Balsma. Well, I think we have started this year off quite well. I think the move-in went well. Gail and I were on our affectionately called now the Gail and Tom road trip, now 7 years running. And it was a good transition, I think, with the past, the summer, and then coming into this academic year. But I did want to share one particular note. And this is one that comes from the heart. And our provost now has been here for 10 years. And Gail, in my mind, epitomizes academic leadership and the work with our governance structures. And 10 years in the life of a provost is 30 years for most of us. I had 7 years as provost, and I feel as though it was over 20. But nonetheless, Gail, I think, has provided in her 10 years of service here at Grand Valley such great oversight, great communication with so many stakeholders, our students, the faculty, staff, governance, outside community, service to the community itself. And within the discipline of, I call, higher education leadership, she is an exemplar. I just wanted to recognize her for 10 years of service, starting her 11th. Let me start off. We hit on a term, and I'll start off and then go back to my notes, but we started thinking about the reach of this university probably back in March or April. And that theme was really powerful, maybe as powerful as one of the words in our mission, and that being shape. But this idea of reaching is also a great concept as we look ahead. And so this morning, what I'd like to do is share some thoughts about looking ahead for 2012, 2013, but also put it in the context of a lot of efforts that are going forward here on the campus to reach out in so many ways, in so many respects, and also note some of the challenges that we have as we do reach forward. The governor, in fact, talking about reaching, for those that haven't seen it, there's it seems like every year now we come up with a new video of some sort, really focused with students and students alum, and there's one that I tried to change the words to, "I am on a cutter." I'm a coastie. A boat is not a cutter. But nonetheless, as Lakers, we can talk about boats. And I'm on a boat. It really is a thrust towards students, current and future students that want to look at Grand Valley as a way to fulfill their dreams and goals of a college degree. And it's all predicated on what we have brought into our lexicon, Laker for a lifetime. And I think it's a powerful statement. Well, this went out yesterday around noon, and already 17,000 hits on this on YouTube, one of which was the governor, who tweeted us and said, this is great, I'm going to even put it on my tweeting account, so link it right here. Take a look at what Grand Valley's doing. That's reach in my mind, when the governor recognizes the talent that we have here. And finally, I was in the restroom, and one of our faculty members, just about probably 20 minutes ago, shares with it 30 years of service, and he says, I won't point him out, but he says, Tom, this is going to be the best year. I am so excited about classes beginning. 30 years of service and the same enthusiasm as if he was here for the first day, as we have with many of our students, maybe pushing 4,000 for their first time on Grand Valley's campus as well. But that type of atmosphere that we're creating, we create it amongst ourselves here so that we can then share that same type of inspiration and our discipline with our students. And from that, I think we can be very successful in that regard. But talk about now 2 times. Last Monday, I heard the same from a faculty member coming in at 7:45 in the morning last Monday, and then again this morning. This is, I think, the environment upon which we are creating together. But let me go ahead and just start a little bit, and again say good morning. But indeed, I say it's a grand morning. Our campus are abuzz with faculty and students, new and returning, all of us ready for this academic year. And I hope that when you see the students coming in, that they also invoke great memories, as Marcia and I had, with move-in. And I found a long time ago that I have an expertise, and it's not moving boxes or futons. It really is giving ice cream away. And we ran out of ice cream because 200 strong, the band came by as we were... Right? Wasn't it great? Vroom. So it was great. So all I can say is I do ice cream. But it is a good day. It really is. And good because of the stability that all of us created together. I say stability in a very paradoxical way because our adaptability and our commitment to our mission has produced this stability. I say that again. It's a paradox, right? As I started off with my notion with the college starts, it is paradoxical. We want that stability. It is a hallmark of us, and at the same time, because of that, we can do those adaptations to make sure that we are relevant to our students. Well, this stability has enabled us to record to a record number of graduates this year, 5,300 last year. And this is so, I think, because we are and continue to be relevant to the students that we're attracting. They have choices. They have choices to go other places, but they're choosing us because I think they can see in us that we are fulfilling the promises for them for a degree from Grand Valley State University. But I know this, too. We must continue to provide a relevant program, a rigorous program, and a return on investment that the students are making with their time and their talent and their resources. Maybe in not that order, but nonetheless, we do have to be cognizant of that return. And with that 5,300, we now rank 4th in the graduation rate here in the state of Michigan. Together, we revise curriculum, we reevaluate courses, and we are accelerating the speed on the pathway to graduation. I mentioned it to Shelley earlier. It's my A+. We can accelerate to attain. We have, ladies and gentlemen, a remarkably talented group of young people who want to be stretched, who need to be kept on the pathway. And we can do it as efficiently as we can in our roles of advisors and mentors. Very critical, because that also helps retain them, because they do know that they are on the right path. That relationship is so important as they reach forward for their goal of a degree from Grand Valley State University, whether they use it immediately in a vocational field or into graduate school, or in other services maybe as well. But that's important. That relationship is so important. I think that's why we are seeing great successes in our ability to retain, yes, but we can't stop there. We have to continue to be very vigilant in creating those relationships. And then let's understand that when we can accelerate their pathway to attain a degree, we can save them resources and maybe even opportunity costs that they would have if they can leave here in a 4-year time frame. So I do think that that is one of the challenges that we have, because there are very important characteristics of this university that the students will appreciate because we kept them on track. What I will also do is take this notion of reaching and put together, we have just about completed a more extensive paper that picks up a little bit on GV 2.0 that we wrote 2 years ago, that we will be able to share with you right after Labor Day. And I'll put that out electronically for you to take a look at. And again, it puts things in context, maybe in writing, maybe a little bit different than what we're talking about this morning, but it shows us the context upon which we're operating as a higher educational institution. I do believe, though, that years from now, our successors will look back at this decade and look back at the second half of our century, of the last half a century, and see that this particular decade itself is the one where we came of age. That the university, Grand Valley State University, came of age. By 2016, for instance, we will have awarded 100,000 degrees. Pretty impressive credentials in the hands of alumni living in every state and dozens of nations. And Julie, we didn't give degrees out until 1967. Remarkable. Remarkable to see that. Our graduates will be practitioners in the fields as diverse as they are, helping shape lives and improve societies. That mission comes through. Grand Valley graduates, prepared and nurtured by you, will continue to be in great demand. And before this decade's finished, Grand Valley's economic impact in West Michigan will have exceeded $1 billion per year. And then when you multiply the number of graduates that just in the 3-county region here, Kent, Ottawa, and Muskegon County, which, Chris, almost 40,000 now, that's a $2 billion plus economic impact in its own way, too. We are making a difference, ladies and gentlemen, most definitely. We are creating that talent. And that talent is staying right here to create a vibrant community which we all want to have for a future state. Our new classrooms, our new library, our laboratories will allow us to admit more students in high-demand fields, students with qualifications that will enable them to compete with the very best. We're seeing that already. Observers will also note that Grand Valley established a dynamic strategic plan and that we manage the university assets to implement and sustain that plan. The communities that host our campuses will know us as good neighbors and good listeners, and our sustained commitment to the arts, culture, and public service will make us even more important to West Michigan, enhancing the area's attractiveness. And we will continue our efforts in leadership and sustainability, a distinguishing characteristic of Grand Valley. We will have continued to deliver on what we promised to our students: smaller classes taught by superior faculty whose knowledge is enhanced by research, active scholarship, and technology. We will have cemented Grand Valley's reputation for putting students first, for high retention, graduation rates, and for academic programs of consistently high value. We will offer choice and flexibility to accommodate the learner of today and the learner of tomorrow with integrated opportunities and a curriculum that will all be offered and augmented with technology. Our enrollment will have held steady despite the reduction in the Michigan college-age population. We will have continued to listen carefully to our communities, to the state of Michigan, developing new programs and services that enhance Michigan's economic future, a future that we will be seen as integral partners in progress. Well, to those who think that some of these elements of the future are familiar, well, they are. I plead guilty. But I pray that we will never lose touch with the things that make us grand. Personal attention, great teaching and scholarship, a beautiful campus, mutual respect, and shared governance. These are the same principles that I shared with you in GV 2.0. Yet today we do meet in challenging times. Public attitudes towards higher education have fallen into several what I call unflattering buckets. It's too expensive, some say. It's not necessary, others say. It's no longer a ticket to a great career, others say. That we appear tone deaf to the economic troubles around us. I don't believe these for a moment, not for Grand Valley, but many Michiganders do. So we must remind them why higher education is worthy of their renewed support. Appropriations have eroded because our political leaders have realized that they pay no penalty at the polls when they cut our funding, even when they disingenuously complain about high tuitions that result, as though they had nothing to do about it. Grand Valley has, in essence, become a state-located institution with a small stipend from the state, only sufficient to fund our debt retirement and financial aid. We are a tuition-driven institution. We focus in on our students with affordability and access. We must. And we want to make sure that we can put them on the pathway to attain their degree in the most expeditious manner. Lawmakers who choose only to criticize higher education create an atmosphere in which the taxpayer disinvestment can be cheered by those who've been wrongly told that higher education doesn't matter for our collective future. That's not right. That's not leadership in Lansing. We need more from Lansing than that. Make us a punching bag has consequences. One day, I think the bag just might break. Well, we at Grand Valley will not allow that to happen. And while we have many friends in many places, it's clear that we as a collective must continue to speak for ourselves. I do, and we must. So let's reach into 2012 and 13 and beyond and focus on those things we can do together to ensure Grand Valley's continued success. Stability and adaptability are the name of the game. The mutual respect and shared governance are the hallmarks of Grand Valley, and they have made it possible for many of you to devote your careers to this wonderful institution. In every action we take, let's subject it to this test. Will it enhance scholarship? Will it help faculty teach? Will it help students succeed? Our provost has put out an agenda to have conversations. And I applaud her for taking that leadership along with the deans and other academic leadership, and then taking that into the senior management team. It'll go into the divisions as well. But we do have to understand the core business that we're in, and maybe that change that we see around us, so that we can anticipate and then adapt, and again create the stability that we need, part of the hallmarks. And we do this together, and we do it now. And so I applaud again the efforts of the provost and the deans and many others to help us with these conversations, and it ties very well into our strategic planning processes too, as I mentioned in the college startups. For those that weren't part of that, basically we're in the middle part of our 10-15 strategic plan. It started in '09. We're looking ahead already to the 15-20 strategic planning. Julie Grevere and others will take this concept and move it forward, because we're now at the midpoint. And it's good to look back and assess, look ahead as well, and all amongst these conversations that we will have. And then to tie that into another part of our governance that's necessary, and that's through accreditation with the Higher Learning Commission here in the North Central region. And there again, too, we have the ability to pick and choose which pathway we want because of our stability and the notation that we did receive in '08. That pathway is before us right now to a 2018. So everything is molding around us right now. We will open this year, 2012-13, the Mary Ida McHugh Library and the Seidman Center. Both will be game changers in their own way. A learning and information commons using technologies, enhancing curricula. And just as a subtext, I am so thrilled because we're having these conversations with regards to enabling ourselves as faculty through technology and other means with an asset like the Mary Ida McHugh Library. It will be a game changer for us, I am sure. And the Seidman, with its innovative programming and the economic outreach, will help revitalize Michigan. The higher education budget model in Michigan is broken. We and our trustees must chart a course for the future that takes this into account. We will not let Grand Valley's quality be compromised, but those who do not have higher education's best interest in mind. We do, and it's because of our students. This means we must expand fundraising and imbuing our students with the willingness to become Lakers for a Lifetime. Take a look at that video. We must be smart, nimble, entrepreneurial, and accountable. We must adapt and be efficient. Some of the mantra that continues for 2012 and 13. We must be, next year and the years ahead, we must be accessible to well-qualified students, a diverse student population, both at the graduate and the undergraduate level, who want this Grand Valley degree. This, again, continues to be having an affordable pathway for them to succeed. I'm saying that time and again because it is a critical concept, because we can help them achieve that, and therefore making that progress towards a timely graduation. And I really mean this. Our commitment to the grand finish actually puts some of our money where our mouth is. As I mentioned, that A+, accelerate to attain. That grand finish that we started 3 years ago, when we were at a parents' event over in the Detroit area, a couple of parents stood up and said, "We're so excited. Our students are right on track for a 4-year graduation rate, and I am thrilled that they're going to have a grand to finish." And they were very pleased with our use of resources in a way to motivate students. Doesn't take away their ability to grow and learn. It just keeps them on the right pathway so that they can do it in a way to both expedite and enhance. We must enhance opportunities for relevant and rigorous hands-on learning through expanded internships and off-campus engagement, service, for instance, including study abroad. We must adapt our learning environment. Technology and online learning can be blended with our traditional format, in my mind, to produce superior academic programs. Provost Davis and her team have doubled the number of online courses in just 5 years, but there's more to come. I am sure that there will be more of this in the future. But let me just read this. One of my authors that I enjoy reading, an opinion leader, is David Brooks. People have heard of him, I'm sure. And he wrote back in May called The Campus Tsunami. And he showed off online education is not new, Phoenix, et cetera, et cetera. But this is, I need to share just a few of these words because it resonated with me as we start our conversations. The most important and paradoxical fact, again, shaping the future of online learning is this: a brain is not a computer. We're not blank hard drives waiting to be filled with data. People learn from people they love and remember the things that arouse emotion. You think about how learning really happens. You can discern many different processes. There is absorbing information, sure. There's reflecting upon information as you reread it and think about it. There's a scrambling of information as you test it and discuss it and try to mesh it with contradictory information, and finally there's a synthesis as you try and organize what you learned into an argument or a paper. Online education mostly helps students with step one. Richard DeMillo of Georgia Tech argued, it turns transmitting knowledge into a commodity that might be cheap and globally available. But it also compels colleges to focus on the rest of the learning process, which there lies the real value. In an online world, colleges have to think hard about how they're going to take communication, whether it comes over the web, and turn it into learning, which is a complex social and emotional process. How will you blend online information with face-to-face discussion, tutoring and debate and coaching and writing and projects? How will you build the social capital that leads to a vibrant learning community? Online community could potentially push colleges up the value chain, away from just information transmission up to higher things. And finally, we must be aggressive in recruitment, retention, and in expanding diversity of the community of colleagues and learners. Our students must understand that the world into which they will graduate and practice their profession is right in front of them. Well, reaching forward is challenging. We will be tested, especially in this paradoxical world. But I am confident that we will succeed. Our values, our institutional integrity will keep us on the right track line. Thank you for your commitment to excellence, for caring about our students, for making Grand Valley's magic a constant reality. You make this university a special place to work, and it makes our region a special place to live. As you go about your work this year, think about the butterfly effect. And it's a term in chaos theory that says something as delicate as butterfly wings fluttering in India can affect the weather in Texas. Everything that you do here will have a current and future impact. 12, 13, this decade will be the decade where Grand Valley comes into its own. It's one of the blessings of higher education. As an educator, as an individual who is engaging students, it's noble calling. And you are making a difference every day, in and outside the classroom, by your own experiences and by your example. And these experiences, just like that butterfly effect, will be felt for generations to come. So let's make the most of this. And it's a special gift that we have to enable students to succeed, to help each other in the collective, to respond to the challenges, create that stability by adaptation, and let's engage together. It is going to be a good year. I agree with our colleagues that I met last Monday and this morning. Been here for a while, but it is going to be a good year. It's going to be a great year as we continue to come in our own as Grand Valley State University. Thank you, and go Lakers. Thank you. As I promised, I wanted to keep this to about 30 minutes, and then we can take maybe a few minutes, 10 minutes or so, for any questions that you might have, and then we can move a little bit more leisurely over to the next event and welcome our students. Questions that you might have? Yes, sir. And loud, so, but I'll repeat it.
I'll see what I can do. Listening to what you and the provost were saying yesterday morning and today, one word that comes up is relationship. I think that's going to be the key going forward for the reasons David Brooks said. But I think we have to be careful that the things that we do to hold ourselves accountable don't work against that. Because the things we're using to hold ourselves accountable are easy to measure, relationships are not. So that word kind of comes up, but it quickly disappears. And that's starting to concern me.
Okay, the question is about relationships, and one of the strengths of this institution that I've grown to appreciate so much, and it was shared with me early on with Don Lubbers and then Mark Murray, and then the members of the senior management team as well, that we can never lose sight of us being an intimate institution. We may be serving 25,000 students, but those relationships are so critical. And we can enable those relationships face-to-face, but there's other means to do that as well. But I couldn't agree with you more. That's so, so important. In fact, last year or the year before, Matt, we did the 3 R's. You know, it wasn't writing, reading, arithmetic, but it was relevance, rigor, and return on investment. You heard them in my remarks now, and I'm going to continue to resonate with them. And there's 2 others that come to mind without a doubt, though. Relationships is the 4th of those R's. So critical in our business. And then finally, reaching ourselves, using everything available to help our students then reach their success and their potential while they're here and as they go forward. You're right on with that notion, and we can put that in the context then of our mission and of the context of defining what education is and our role as educators in that mix. And it's good to, from time to time, take a time out and have these conversations. It's going to be broadened. And I do know that the board is asking these questions. This SMT is going to be meeting on these questions, and you will as well. So we look at those questions and then say, what if? And then how can we? And later on, in my remarks to the students, I'm going to say in education is not teaching our students what to think. I can do that on a computer. But to really engage them, we can use the computer, we can use the technical assets that we have, the whole broad spectrum of that, and then help our students learn how to think. And that, to me, is the value of higher education. Because that's what the employers want. That's what the future pathway to maybe advanced degrees want. They want people who know how to think. And I heard that time and again with the business leaders here. I remember sitting down with Jim Hackett, for instance, at Steelcase. And I said, what do you want from us? They said, I want a critical thinker. I want a team builder. I want someone who has a global perspective. I want someone who has some intercultural competency that they can react and respond and nurture ourselves and our relationship with the rest of the world. Where do you get that? Well, I said this a couple of times in the opening meetings, but our faculty have created a general education program that will sustain test of time. It is a remarkable statement of reaching forward to create that individual who will be an educated citizen for our nation and world. And again, predicated maybe on those 5 R's. Relationship is very important. Other question? Yes, ma'am. Loud, too.
Can you tell us what the percentage is in the breakdown between the state allocation for debt, retirement, and financial aid?
Sure. Question in terms of our budget. We did this to now 2 years. Again, tuition-driven institution. We have 17% of our operating budget coming from the state. Right, Jim? Right number. And what we have, and that's about $52 million on a budget that's about 300 million plus. So what we have done is we have created another line item. We've taken that 17%, moved it over, and we only have enough then with the 52 million to take care of debt retirement. And this is great because we look at all of our financial ratios and it plays into, that's another point of stability that I could go on and on about here, because we do look at all of our financial ratios to make sure that we're on the right track. So we look at debt retirement, financial aid piece is how much? 31 million just in financial aid. And we have to position ourselves because there are discounting that are going on. That's financial aid, both from primarily need-based, but we also have some merit-based, and then we also have scholarships that the public sector offers, and they're over 300 scholarships that we have. So we can discount our, it's going to be $10,027, and we really have, with grants and aids, et cetera, not loans, but we are looking at a net tuition of about $6,200, $6,300. Is that about right? Do you remember that? $6,300, okay? So we have, basically, to put it all together, 17% of our budget going to debt and financial aid, and a little bit of maintenance as well, because we want to make sure that I do not want to put off things that we need to do in order to maintain the learning environment that we need for the future state. So that's important. One last note, and it's kind of a bridge to that, and I was sharing this with Shelley too, and you might have seen this in a recent press release we put through GV Now, and that is looking at the whole nature of debt load on our students. And when we looked at the students that started with us and graduated last year, a little over a third graduated with no debt, which is a remarkable statement, because what we hear time and again in the blogging, that there's students out there, lots of students graduating with hundreds and thousands of dollars worth of debt. I don't discount that, because they might have gone to other places, but I wanted to focus in on us. And well over 50% graduated with $20,000 or less. Now that's on average. But what was really remarkable that really came out to me from Philip Batty's data and Joe Godwin putting it together is that 4-year mark. That's why I'm so pleased that you all brought in to the notion of good advising to get to our students to the point where they can stay on track. And that Grand Finish is really helpful, with 900 students now taking part of that promise. Now, what we saw there with the 4-year rate is that upon graduation, they on average had $13,900 in debt. The average car loan for those that are taking car loans out in the United States is $13,500. So it's a nice balance as we go forward. But nonetheless, students do have debt. And it could be reduced tomorrow if the state fulfilled its promises and be held accountable to public higher education. I said this now 6 years running, and Matt, I'm sure we'll say it again this coming year. And I even wrote letters to leadership saying, and I would bring this to the board, if you can sustain your support to Grand Valley at the same average, at the average rate that you give to other institutions in Michigan, I will reduce tuition tomorrow, probably as much as 10%, maybe even more. And when I share that challenge to our representatives, the leadership, it goes ignored. And given the fact that now we are inching, though, maybe a little bit towards performance funding, and I applaud the governor, and I applaud our leadership in this regard. They are recognizing that there is value in performance funding. It's happening across the nation. Here, though, they are just putting their toe in the water a little bit and said, well, we're going to give you some one-time money. For us, it turned out to be 3+ million? 2.8 million, and we may have a little bit more because the tuition came down, right? Or is that the final number? Okay, about 2.8 million at one time. However, when the governors approached, I was feeling pretty good, even one-time money. When he was using his metrics, we were at top of the heap. When the business leaders was using their metrics, we were again top of the heap. And then the politicians got involved and created sausage. And that's why we wound up where we are. But there is, and I'm going to stay optimistic because I want to be part of the conversation, in that performance funding is the right type of policy when it comes to funding public higher education. I don't want to go down the pathway where Colorado is, where they are trying to remove all of operating dollars from their system and then therefore become the first fully state-located institution. I believe in public higher education. I believe in that there is a public good that's associated with the degree from Grand Valley State University, and all of us should participate in creating that public good. So thank you. One last question for anyone? Okay. Well, hearing none, I will also want to say again, let's have a great year. I was told time and again that this was probably the smoothest transition we've ever had in people's memory. And I'll go to Chick. What do you think? Smooth? Chick goes like this. And I agree. It's been great, smooth, and sure enhanced and enabled by good weather. But it also is enhanced and enabled by people coming back, getting enthusiastic about our core business, and that's to help our students learn how to think. Thank you all, and God bless.